What if the life you're living right now isn't real? It's just a habit you never questioned. Imagine this. You wake up in the same bed, check the same phone, scroll the same apps, feel the same emotions, and wrestle with the same disappointments you promised yourself you'd grow out of. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months, and somewhere along the line you stopped living and started looping. You go to sleep with the weight of dreams you never chased, and wake up with the same dull ache of unrealized potential. You blame circumstances, you tell yourself you're trying, but a part of you knows you're repeating. Not just routines, but thoughts. Not just behaviors, but identities. It's like your soul is stuck on a scratched vinyl, spinning the same track over and over while convincing you that change is just one more productivity hack away. But what if it's not about trying harder? What if it's not effort that's keeping you stuck, but reality itself?
Here's the paradox. You think you're living a life, but you're actually trapped in a construct, a psychological illusion so seamless, you've mistaken it for truth. Your mind isn't just observing the world, it's projecting it. And those projections, they're built from your past, your beliefs, your emotional wounds, your subconscious fears. So each time you think you're waking up to a new day, you're actually re-entering the same story, same characters, same inner script, with just enough surface noise to make it feel different. But deep down, doesn't it feel familiar? Why do you attract the same kinds of relationships just in different bodies? Why does success always feel just out of reach, like chasing a mirage that dissolves when you get close? Why do your dreams excite you in imagination, but paralyze you in reality? Maybe it's because you're not really in the present. You're living in a loop, the echo of past decisions masquerading as free will. And here's the most unsettling part. Your brain loves it. It's addicted to certainty, even if that certainty is pain. To your nervous system, the known is safer than the possibility of transformation. So your subconscious keeps dragging you back into the same vibrational state, the same emotional frequency, because that's what it knows how to survive. You think you're choosing. What are you? Or are you sleepwalking through an inherited script that was never yours to begin with? Every moment, reality branches like a tree, infinite versions of your life radiating outward. But your mind, out of habit and fear, keeps choosing the same branch, again and again. Different years, same outcomes. Call it fate, call it karma, call it trauma replay. But what if it's none of those? What if it's simply a default setting, and you've never dared to press the override? You're not stuck because the world is broken. You're stuck because you've unconsciously agreed to keep living on a channel that no longer reflects who you truly are. So here's the great question. What if your reality isn't real, just rehearsed? And what if, with a shift in perception, with a deep enough decision, with a deliberate change in energetic frequency, you could quantum leap into an entirely new version of your life?
Not slowly, not eventually, instantly.
Because here's what science and mysticism are both whispering. Whether from the mouth of a quantum physicist or a mystic monk, reality doesn't change when time passes. It changes when the observer does. So, who are you in this? The one repeating, or the one who can rewrite? Because you can only shift realities when you're brave enough to question the one you're in. The moment you stop accepting this version of your life as the only one possible, everything begins to fracture. Cracks form in the mirror, timelines split, and your soul starts to remember a truth it always knew. You were never meant to repeat. You were meant to quantum shift. Now, what's really keeping you stuck in the same loop? To answer that, we have to look beneath the surface into the dark psychological machinery that's been running your life without your consent. Let's go there. But once you see it, you'll never be able to unsee it. It's easy to think you're stuck because of external circumstances, money, timing, responsibilities, even luck. But the truth is more confronting. You're not repeating the same reality because you have to. You're repeating it because some part of you is afraid to stop. And that fear isn't just emotional, it's existential. You've been programmed, psychologically, culturally, even spiritually, to prioritize survival over transformation. And so, instead of leaping into the unknown, your psyche clings to the familiar, even if the familiar is painful, even if it's slowly killing your spirit. Let's break this down. Carl Jung once said, Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You think you're making choices, but most of your life is being orchestrated by subconscious patterns formed in your earliest years. Emotional templates shaped by your parents, teachers, peers, traumas, unprocessed. Beliefs absorbed before you were old enough to question them. You learned how reality works not from truth, but from repetition. If love meant abandonment, you recreate it. If success felt unsafe, you sabotage it. If visibility brought shame, you stay hidden, not consciously, but neurologically. Your nervous system becomes a gatekeeper, your subconscious a scriptwriter, and your ego the loyal actor. The entire play runs on autopilot, and unless you interrupt it, you'll just keep recycling the same act with new costumes, new actors, same outcome. Why does this happen? Because your identity, your sense of self, is built like a psychological ecosystem, and ecosystems resist sudden change. If you try to grow too fast, break out too far, or leap into a new version of yourself too soon, your inner system snaps back, like a rubber band under tension. This is what Freud might call the repetition compulsion, what Nietzsche called the eternal recurrence, what Schopenhauer saw as the will to live, looping through craving and suffering. To your ego, the unknown equals death, so it keeps you bound to what is known, even if the known is mediocrity. And society reinforces this. Think about it. From school, you're taught to follow templates. From religion, you're told to fear desire. From media, you're programmed to chase validation. From family, you're warned not to dream too loud. So instead of becoming, you settle, you conform, you rehearse. Even your rebellion becomes predictable. Tattoos, a career pivot, a vacation, but deep change. Identity collapse, timeline disruption. That scares you, because no one taught you how to unknow who you were and step into who you're meant to be. Now let's go even deeper. Jean-Paul Sartre believed that humans are condemned to be free, that we are burdened by the responsibility of choice, and terrified of the blank canvas that freedom represents. So what do? We cling to roles. We say, I'm not that kind of person. I've always been anxious. I don't deserve more. It's just how I am. But that's a lie. You aren't your patterns. You're just addicted to them. And like any addiction, there's a payoff. Maybe you repeat the same toxic relationship dynamic because, on some level, it proves your unworthiness, something you were conditioned to believe early in life. Maybe you sabotage opportunities because failure is predictable, and success would demand a self-image you've never had permission to hold. Maybe you keep your dreams just out of reach because the pursuit is safer than the arrival. Arrival would demand embodiment, ownership, power, and power. That scares people more than anything. Not because they're weak, but because claiming your power means taking full responsibility for your reality. And that means no more blaming, no more waiting, no more stories, just raw choice. Aldous Huxley warned of a future where people are so hypnotized by comfort, convenience, and distraction that they no longer need to be oppressed, they volunteer for their own imprisonment. Is that what's happening now? Your comfort zone isn't a place, it's a frequency, a state of being you return to out of habit. And no matter how many affirmations you whisper or vision boards you tape to the wall, if your core frequency doesn't change, your external world won't either. This is why so many people fail at manifestation. They speak the words, but the subconscious never got the memo. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, said that between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies your power to choose. That space is quantum. It's the crack in the matrix. It's where you decide, do I repeat or do I shift? But here's the kicker. Most people never even find that space because they've numbed themselves into non-existence. They stay busy, they scroll, they perform, they chase the next thing, hoping momentum will mask meaninglessness. But the loop continues because they're still the same observer, still the same frequency, still the same story. So, where does this leave you? If you've ever felt like something inside you is off, like you're living a version of yourself that's a few shades too dim, it's not in your head. That's your soul screaming. Screaming because it remembers who you were before the world told you who to be, before your reality was shaped by wounds and wires, before you confused safety with truth. The hidden problem isn't your life, it's your programming. And once you realize that you're no longer just a character in the story, you become the author. But first, you need to see what this programming has done to your mind, to your behavior, to your future. Because the cost of repeating isn't just boredom or frustration. It's something far more serious. It's erosion of time, of energy, of your becoming. Let's talk about that. Let's expose the silent damage that this loop inflicts on your dreams, your identity, and your ability to create something new. You don't notice it right away. The decay is subtle. It hides behind routine, behind responsibility, behind the illusion of productivity. But make no mistake, the cost of repeating the same emotional reality over and over is devastating. Not in one dramatic collapse, but in a quiet, invisible disintegration of self. Your nervous system, designed to keep you alive, starts misfiring under the weight of emotional déjà vu, the same unprocessed feelings, the same shame loops, the same anxious patterns of thought, tightening their grip every time you betray your own evolution in favor of comfort. This is how potential dies, not with a bang, but with a whisper that says, "This is just who I am. I guess I'll never change. Maybe next year." But next year becomes next decade. And soon, you're no longer just repeating a reality, you're decaying in it. Let's talk neurology. Your brain is a prediction machine. It takes past experiences and uses them to model the future. The more often a pattern fires emotionally, cognitively, behaviorally, the more it gets reinforced through synaptic repetition. Neurons that fire together, wire together. This means every time you react to rejection with self-blame, every time you feel triggered and abandon your power, every time you visualize your dreams but act from your fears, you're hardwiring that version of reality into your brain. You're reinforcing the same personal timeline. And here's the terrifying part. Eventually, it stops feeling like a choice. It becomes you. You're not angry. You're an angry person. You're not scared. You're just anxious. You're not lost. You've always been this way. Language collapses possibility. Identity becomes ossified. And without even realizing it, you've become the guardian of your own cage. Cognitive biases feed the loop too. Confirmation bias makes you see only what proves your limiting beliefs. Negativity bias amplifies threats and overlooks progress. Status quo bias keeps you clinging to the familiar even when it hurts you. These aren't flaws, they're survival mechanisms. But when unchallenged, they become prisons. And culture, it helps cement those bars in place. We're taught to worship logic over intuition, to chase achievement over alignment, to trust the visible over the vibrational. So when you get an intuitive pull to shift timelines, to quit the job, to walk away from the relationship, to recreate yourself completely, you question your sanity. You think you're being impulsive. You call it unrealistic. You gaslight your own awakening, and reality complies. Because reality doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you expect, and expectation is just memory, recycled. Now, let's talk about time. You've probably heard the phrase, "Time heals all wounds." But here's the thing, time doesn't heal anything. Awareness does. And if you're repeating the same unconscious patterns, you're not healing, you're aging inside the wound. You're becoming more practiced in your pain, more fluent in your fear, more entangled in the energetic loop that tells the universe, "This is who I am." So the universe mirrors it, endlessly. And then there's entropy, the gradual decline into disorder. In physics, entropy is the natural tendency of systems to move from order to chaos. But spiritually, psychologically, it's what happens when you stop evolving, when you stop imagining, stop creating, stop questioning. In self-questioning, your energy dulls, your creativity dries up, Your intuition goes quiet. You don't even recognize the person in the mirror. Not because you've changed, but because you haven't. You've become a ghost of the self you could have been. Let's get brutally honest. One, repeating the same emotional frequency isn't just holding you back, it's eroding your soul. Every time you choose safety over expansion, a part of you dies. Every time you lie to yourself to avoid discomfort, you lose intimacy with your truth. Every time you defer your dreams to someday, you drain the color from your life. This is spiritual starvation, and it's happening everywhere. People with stunning potential, playing it small. Geniuses hiding in cubicles. Artists silencing their expression. Leaders who never lead. Lovers who never love fully. Because somewhere along the way, they got hypnotized. Hypnotized by routine, by fear, by identity, by the false belief that transformation is a someday event, when in truth, it's a now or never decision. And here's the kicker. The longer you stay in the loop, the harder it becomes to see the loop. Your perception adapts. Your standards lower. Your dreams shrink until they fit neatly inside your doubt. You convince yourself this is just how life is. But it's not life, it's a script. And scripts can be rewritten. But you can't do that while you're still reacting from the same emotions, telling the same stories, making the same choices. You can't quantum shift while clinging to the identity that created your current reality. You have to be willing to let go of who you've been before you can meet who you're meant to become. So pause and ask yourself, what is the cost of staying here? Not the cost of failing, not the risk of dreaming too big, but the actual cost of doing nothing, of staying emotionally, spiritually, and energetically stagnant. What is the price you pay for repetition? What does it cost your relationships, your creativity, your legacy, your joy? What unlived version of you is dying every day you delay your shift? It's not too late, but it is urgent, because the longer you stay in the loop, the more convincing it becomes, the more it masquerades as truth, the more your future starts to look exactly like your past, no matter how much you want change. Wanting isn't enough. You have to become different. So what does that look like? What does it mean to rebel against the old frequency, to fracture the illusion, to break your personal matrix? You're about to find out. Because the next phase of this journey is the rebellion. There comes a moment not marked by fireworks or fanfare, when something in you snaps. Not in the way we're told to fear, like a breakdown, more like a spiritual rupture. You catch yourself mid-thought, mid-loop, mid-loo, and you just can't go on like this anymore. Not another morning of pretending. Not another night of silence. Not another round of dreaming without moving. That moment, that's rebellion. But not against society. Not even against others. The true rebellion is against your own programming. You've spent years mastering a version of yourself that was designed to survive, not to thrive. To be agreeable, predictable, lovable, safe. But that self is outdated, a survival relic, a shadow puppet of your potential. And now it's time to set it on fire. Breaking free doesn't start with action. It starts with awareness. You must become the witness, the lucid observer who catches the script mid-performance and says, wait, this isn't me. This is just a role I've been rehearsing. And once you see the script for what it is, you can stop playing your part. It's like being in a dream and realizing you're dreaming. Everything shifts. The laws that governed your limitations no longer apply because they weren't real laws, just agreements. Agreements you never consciously made. So here's the first act of rebellion. Withdraw your consent. Stop agreeing to be small. Stop agreeing to stay stuck. Stop agreeing to timelines that don't feel like yours. But awareness alone isn't enough. You have to act, and not from the energy of who you've been, but from the frequency of who you are becoming. This is where most people hesitate, because quantum shifting isn't about adding new habits to an old self. It's about collapsing the old self altogether. A single moment where your thoughts, emotions, and actions matched the reality you wanted before it existed. Here's what they don't teach you. Reality is not fixed. It's a mirror. It reflects not what you want, but what you are. So if you want to experience a new life, you have to become the version of you who already lives it, not someday, right now. Feel what they feel, think how they think, decide as they decide. Even if your environment hasn't caught up yet, especially then, because you don't shift reality by negotiating with the old version. You shift by embodying the new one so completely that the old world has no choice but to dissolve. This is what mystics, shamans, and spiritual rebels have always known. Jesus in the desert, Buddha under the tree, Nietzsche staring into the abyss. They all had to detach from the crowd, from the noise, from the past, to discover the frequency of their truth. It's not polite. It doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't ask for proof. It moves. It breaks things, shocks people, disorients logic, because freedom isn't logical. It's quantum, and quantum shifts don't follow a timeline. They follow conviction. So what does rebellion look like in your life? It looks like saying no when your people-pleasing says yes, like deleting the number you keep texting out of loneliness, like starting the project you've convinced yourself you're not ready for, like meditating not to feel calm, but to remember who the hell you are beneath the noise. It looks like choosing the uncomfortable conversation over quiet resentment, like walking into a room as your future self, even if no one recognizes them yet, like breaking your addiction to struggle and allowing things to be easy, without guilt. It's not about being perfect. It's about being different. Different than your past. Different than your excuses. Different than the loop. Rebellion is embodiment. Not talking about change, becoming it. That's the new language. That's the transmission your future is waiting for. And every time you act in alignment with your future self, you collapse old timelines. Relationships fall away. Desires shift. Opportunities appear. And reality, slowly at first, then all at once, bends to meet you. Because you're no longer asking for the change. You are the change. This isn't wishful thinking. It's quantum mechanics. At the subatomic level, reality exists as a field of probability until it's observed. Once it's observed, it collapses into form. That means your focus creates. Your emotion charges. Your embodiment locks it in. So if you're constantly focused on what's wrong, what's missing, what you fear, you're collapsing those versions into your now. But if you learn to shift your focus, your attention, your identity, your belief toward what already exists, vibrationally, you unlock a version of you that was always there, waiting for your frequency to match. And here's the quiet truth. Most people never realize.
You don't need to become someone new. You just need to remember who you were before the programming took hold.
That version of you, the fearless one, the visionary, the creator, isn't gone. They're buried under years of conditioning, under false identities, under the illusion of limitation. But they're still alive, still burning, still whispering. Stop rehearsing the old you. Step into the field where the new you already exists. You don't have to walk there. Just become the one who belongs there. So this is your moment. The fork in the road. The decision that fractures the timeline. Hate that changes everything. You can stay loyal to the version of you that's already dying. Or you can risk everything for the one that's waiting to be born. Because the next reality isn't out there. It's already here. And it's waiting for you to arrive. Let's strip everything away. The psychology, the theory, the stories, even the spiritual poetry. Let's get down to it. The final truth is this. You are not moving through reality. Reality is moving through you. You are not the traveler on a fixed path. You are the pathmaker, the projector, the prism through which infinite timelines take form. This means your life isn't happening to you. It's happening from you. And until you see that deeply, viscerally, undeniably, you will stay enslaved to illusions you unknowingly helped build. But once you do see it, everything changes. Not because the world changes, but because you stop needing the world to change first. You understand that your external life is just your internal state, wearing costumes. And so the only revolution that ever mattered was an inner one.
Think about this.
You've never actually experienced the world. You've only ever experienced your interpretation of it. The sound of someone's voice, filtered through your memories. The meaning of a situation, defined by your beliefs. The shape of your future, sketched by your expectations. So when you change the observer, you change what is observed, not metaphorically. Literally, this is the quantum truth. The universe doesn't respond to your intentions. It responds to your state of being, and your state of being is made up of your beliefs, your assumptions, your subconscious identity. So here's the final unlock. To live a new life, you must first belong to it. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. What you believe is natural for you, what feels emotionally congruent with your self-image. Let's pause there, because this is where it either clicks or it doesn't. Most people try to get a new reality without becoming the person who lives there. They want love, but still believe they're unlovable. They want abundance, but feel guilty receiving. They want freedom, but cling to fear like a badge of honor. And so, the quantum field responds. Request denied. Identity mismatch. Not because you're unworthy, but because your energy says, I'm still the same. So here's the final task. Let the old identity die, fully, ritually, without apology. Mourn it, if you must. Hold a funeral in your journal. Write a letter to the version of you that did their best, carried the pain, tried to fit in, chased the rules, and then burn it, because that self was never meant to last forever. They were a bridge, a chrysalis, a placeholder for the truth. And the truth, you are the field itself, not just a player in the simulation, but the code beneath it. You've just forgotten in the noise of school and shame and screens and survival. Forgotten because your divinity was too overwhelming to hold in a world addicted to mediocrity. But it's waking up now. That deeper knowing. The one that whispers, you were never supposed to wait. You were supposed to decide. The moment you decide to belong to the next version of your life without evidence, without logic, without apology, that's when the shift happens. That's when you move from rehearsal to embodiment, from potential to actualization, from victim of reality to creator of it. And you don't need to try to be that new version. You simply need to remember how to feel like them. Now, feel what it's like to be loved, to be magnetic, to be powerful, certain, sovereign, not later, not when you've earned it. Now, because if you wait for the world to give it to you first, you'll be waiting forever. Here's the final paradox. Quantum shifting is both effortless and excruciating. Effortless because it's natural. You're just returning to your original state of creation. Excruciating because it requires ego death, and the ego doesn't die quietly. It will try to pull you back into fear, into overthinking, into seeking proof. But proof is the last to arrive. It's the shadow of your decision. You must leap first, bleed into the becoming. Trust what your eyes can't yet see because your soul already knows. There's a version of you who has already made the shift. They're not waiting. They're not doubting either. They're not apologizing for their power. They're living in a completely different timeline. Not because they earned it, but because they chose it. Chose to feel different, think different, move different. Even when everything around them screamed, "You're crazy," because that's what it sounds like to those still trapped in the loop. Sanity is defined by repetition, but truth is defined by resonance. And right now, something in you is resonating. You know this, not intellectually, but energetically. You've always known, so stop seeking permission. Stop waiting for signs. You are the sign. Let this land. You are not here to fix the past. You are here to collapse it. You are not here to hustle for scraps of worth. You are here to remember. You are the source. You are not here to repeat. You are here to shift, fully, radically, and permanently. So breathe, close your eyes, and meet yourself on the other side of the veil of belief, of fear, of memory, because just beyond it is you, the you who never doubted, the you who never fragmented, The you who creates reality, not from habit, but from truth. And that truth, it's been waiting this whole time. In the stillness between thoughts, in the goosebumps on your skin, in the ache in your chest when you dream too big. It's been whispering, reality is yours to shape. So stop rehearsing what you've outgrown. Stop asking if it's possible. The only question that matters now is, are you ready to live like it's already done? Because when you do, reality has no choice but to obey. Don't chase the shift, become the shift, and watch reality bend in your direction. Not because you forced it, but because you finally matched it. Now, go. Before the old version talks you out of it again.